So I don't want to get the vehicle too close to it. But now you can see that it is a leopard. And I'm confident that it's a male, but you would be a magician to be able to tell who it is through that thick bush that's in front of his face. He kind of got up and moved ever so slightly when we first came across him. And that's what made me think he was a little bit nervous. And I'm just going to let Taxon, who's one of the Djuma guides, enjoy a good view with his guests. And I'm sure they won't be here too long, and then we'll be able to slot into their spot. But it seems like the leopard luck continues. And I can't wait to work out who this guy is. I've got a feeling it's Hukumuri, but cannot be certain. I'd be really surprised if it is, because it's unlike a male leopard to stay camped out in an area unless there's food. And yes, he may have been fairly full-bellied yesterday evening, but I would have expected him to move off, keep marking his territory, expanding his territory, which he's busy doing at the moment. So maybe, yeah, it'll be very interesting to see who it is. I mean, I think the three likely options are Tumba, Tingana, and Hukumuri. But from the brief glimpse we got of it initially, it looked quite big. Oh, well, interesting. Michelle, you've already hazarded a guess, and you think it's Tingana, just from the very kind of obscured view that you've got of him so far. So I hope you're right. If you can idea a leopard in a bush like that, you are very talented. Okay, guys, well, sorry that we don't have the best view, but I think we will, by the time you come back to us, be able to get you a slightly better spot. And while we wait for our chance to do that, we shall send you across to Taylor. So, we have got into a good spot, and sadly, it is not Tingana, but it was a good guess. It's another big male leopard called Hukumuri. And the distinguishing feature for me at this stage and at this view is the small scar just in front of his left eye. Thank you, Dave, for the punch zoom technique that you employed there. And there you can see that little kind of scar just in front of his eye. He also appears to be wearing mascara. He's got quite black rings around his eye, and he just gives me a kind of a cold chill when he stares at me. Especially when you've just arrived in the sighting, he kind of like really gives you a proper once-over. And it's not always the case that when a leopard looks at you, they make you a little bit nervous, but with him, he's got kind of a little bit of a crazy look in his eyes. You can't tell that now because they're closed, but hopefully at some point in time during the afternoon, he will give us a glare and also take us on a mission. Now, the fact that he is still here makes me wonder, has he got another kill nearby? Was he just relaxing after his bushbuck kill that he finished late yesterday evening and then stumbled upon another kill, and now he's just come down to the closest water for a drink, relaxing here before maybe heading back to the kill later? I think there's a high likelihood that is going to be the case. Because as I was saying earlier, for a male leopard, especially a male leopard in his situation, up and coming, expanding territory, he's a hustler. So hustlers don't spend the same time in one place unless there's a good reason to. So maybe, yeah, maybe he heard some leopard vocalizations from Tingana. Maybe that's got something to do with it. But I'm confident it's got something to do with food that's kept him here. Marvelous. Well, we won't be going anywhere. We're going to put our patient pants on as it seems like it may be a long afternoon before he decides to get up, but you never know. That's why we just have to stay here. But thankfully, Taylor has got a wonderful view of something else. So we've still got the old Hukumuri male here. He is looking very, very sleepy, and I mean, it's difficult to tell because he's lying down, but his belly is looking quite full, possibly fuller than it was yesterday evening. So maybe my theory of him having a kill somewhere nearby is in fact correct, but can't be sure just yet. Oh, shame, he just had a little bit of a choke there, it looked like. I don't know if you guys saw that. I just heard, actually, maybe a little furball's making its way out. Like Steve says, though, we're very lucky to at least have a leopard for now, and hopefully he will get lucky with Tundi a little bit later on. It's an incredible tricky spot that we left her and the cub in this morning, but at least we've got a kind of base for Steve to work off. Tommy, you'd like to know if we only give the predators names or if we sometimes give the prey animals names. Well, yeah, as a general rule, it's mainly the predators, but there's a few individuals, that stand out from the rest, like Daryl the elephant. I'm still not sure. I forgot to ask Taylor how he ended up with the name Daryl. It's got something to do with where she was working before she came here. So that was a name that lodge adopted for him, and now we've just kept running with that. We had a big kudu that we used to call Zeus back in the day, who had incredibly large horns, very widespread and abnormally kind of widespread. But other than that, I can't really think of any other animals we've named. Occasionally, we had once named a wildebeest. I can't remember what we named her. She had a loose horn and a young baby. Sadly, both her and the young baby were killed in the same season by lions, if my memory serves me correctly. But yeah, Tom, as a... yes, thanks, Kirsty. It was called Brian and Brian's mom. Brian was the baby, named after one of the cameramen, and obviously Brian's mom was the mother. I can't remember, I think obviously maybe the baby got eaten first and then the mother, but they both got consumed within, I think, quite a short period. And Tom, the reason why we don't name too many of the prey species is because we don't follow them closely enough to warrant it, and there's often so many more of the prey species than the predators. Oh, shame, it looked like a fly gave him a good bite on the nose there. So yeah, I guess that's kind of the main reason why we don't name the prey species. There's just too many of them, and we don't really follow their lives as closely as the predators. Trying to think of any other lucky prey species that we named. Oh, interesting. Well, Taylor's just confirmed that Daryl was actually named after a guest that came to the lodge where she was working. The guest named it. I wonder why the guest named it Daryl. Oh, hello, boy. Rolling over, getting comfy. Yeah, interesting. Interesting name for an elephant, Daryl. Wouldn't it be nice if we knew a little bit more as to why Daryl was the name, and why the one guest was lucky enough to name the elephants. Interesting stuff. Kirsty's just reminded me of Nelson, the one-eyed impala. I don't think I ever met Nelson, unless my filing cabinet is a little bit dusty with regards to remembering that. So yeah, I mean, unless there's a kind of unique scenario, the prey species generally won't get named. Now, we had a plan B for this evening, and, maybe if Steve doesn't get lucky with Tundi a little bit later on. He might be able to do it, otherwise we'll be able to do it another evening. But we're planning on doing a stakeout with Janet Jackson. Janet Jackson is a Janet. She's named after Janet Jackson, just because it rhymes. And she lives in a tree, in a cavity in a tree. And interestingly, she was actually last seen on the 28th of February. Somebody asked this morning when last she was seen, and I wasn't too sure, but somebody, and I forgot their name, but somebody kindly tweeted a picture to me of Janet poking her head out of her little cavity. And it'll be quite nice, now that we're staying out a little bit later into darkness, which is a relatively recent development. It'll allow us to do a stakeout with her and watch her emerge from her hole. And then, hopefully, we could, be able to follow her. And because we know where she lives, we're in a fortunate situation where we could almost, well, not almost, we could 100% start habituating her to a vehicle. And wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to follow a relaxed Janet around doing its business? But Hukumuri is going to be the priority for us for now. Very good. Well, it sounds like Steve has hopped out the vehicle, something he loves doing, and he is standing next to one of his favorite things, a tree. We are indeed. He's just put his head up because some blacksmith lapwings started calling chip, 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 chip. And what's interesting is that some Birchall starlings swooped down and for no apparent reason kind of like attacked the lapwings, and then the lapwings fought back. And now they've all disappeared. And at least it's kind of semi-awoken old Hukumuri. And I've got a feeling we're going to be here for a while before he gets up and on the move. Far less predictable than lions, though, the leopard. So that's why we feel that it is worth our while to stay put here, in case he does get up and decide to move. Hello, young Aiden. Just 6 years old. Very good to have you on a safari with us. You'd like to know if leopards like catnip. And I am told that yes, they do. But we try not to interfere with the animals. As much as we may sometimes want to help them or give them something, we don't, because that way we stay in a situation where they don't really see us as good or bad. We're just somewhere in between, which is unique in nature, and that's why he's allowing us to just sit here peacefully right next to him. But I'm told, yes, that a number of the big cats all like catnip, and it's not something I've ever tried. I've only actually ever seen videos of domestic cats responding and getting very excited with it, but I've never actually seen it in person. It's something that maybe I should try with a domestic cat next time I'm around one. But yeah, I've never actually seen it myself. Aiden, I'm guessing you have seen it before. That's why you know about it. Do you like to give your cat catnip? If you do, let us know. That would be very interesting. Maybe you can even do your own little Safari Live segments telling us about your cat and the catnip. You can do a video for us. Start practicing for when you come and start working at Safari Live. So that's a little plan. We can get Dave, who's on camera, to give your camera woman or cameraman some feedback, and all the presenters can tell you what we think about your performance. Okay. Very good. Well, we are going to stay put and send you off to somebody else. I'm not sure whether it's Taylor or Steve. Surrounded by how in tune he is with other animals' alarm calls. He's definitely on high alert. Earlier there was a squirrel alarm calling. He put his head up, looked in that direction. Now it's some blacksmith lapwings that he heard. And even a big male leopard like this needs to be cautious out here. And I guess we've got good good example as to why, or this is a good example as to why, or that it's not just the predators it's not just the prey that need to keep an eye out for themselves, but also the predators. It's also made me wonder further, and it's something we discussed yesterday, whether the animals can tell what other animals are alarm calling at. I don't know any humans that can successfully say that, oh, I can hear monkeys, they've seen a leopard, or they've seen a snake, or they've seen a bird of prey. It all sounds the same to us. Same goes for squirrels, XYZ. But maybe animals like this, whose senses are far better than ours, can actually read into the different alarm calls. However, the fact that he's just looking up at any alarm call in the last 5 minutes, he's looked at tree squirrels, he's looked at blacksmith lapwings, it would indicate that, he's not entirely sure. If he was sure, he would either go there and have a look or run away. He wouldn't just put his head up and chance, working out what it is. I can't wait for him to get up, not only because it'll be wonderful to see him on the move, but because I'm really desperate to know how or why he stayed in this area. I'm confident, like I said earlier, that he would have made another kill last night nearby, and that's why he hasn't moved off. But only time will tell. Hello, Puma. You would like to know if there's a healthy ratio of predator to prey here on Djuma. Yes. I mean, it's a very, very difficult equation to work out, but it's a very natural ecosystem that we're in here. We are open to the Greater Kruger National Park. So basically, we traverse a tiny, tiny pinprick, 1,500 hectares of a total of over 3 million. And when you've got an ecosystem that large, Mother Nature tends to be able to look after herself. And there might be periods when, there's a slight discrepancy and maybe there's a few more predators than prey. And then there'll be, a situation where a pride of lions die out for whatever reason, or a pack of wild dogs die out, or a whole bunch of leopard die, for whatever the reasons being. And then the tables will turn. But I think because we are in such a wonderfully natural ecosystem here, it's always going to be in a fairly decent balance. But you do get quite a few smaller reserves, especially here in South Africa, where we've got a lot of fenced reserves, where, the humans have to kind of act like Mother Nature and, bring new blood in for the predators, take old males out, keep the populations in check, depending on how much prey's there. So, yeah, I don't think we have that same problem here. Okay, I just need to give somebody a quick call on the radio who'd like to come and join us here. So I'm going to send you across to Taylor, who's got some more leaves in her hair. Been tossing and turning and rolling over, and I'm confident he's fairly soon going to get up and take us on a little stroll. I'm guessing it's going to be a short stroll to kill that he stashed somewhere. I'm feeling very confident about that, Dave. Well, no joy just yet. He's still fast asleep, and I'm becoming more and more confident with my theory that he has got a kill stashed nearby. For him to hang out within the same area for 24 hours without having another kill here is highly abnormal behavior for a male leopard. They've got huge territories, even though we don't know exactly how big this guy's is at the moment. They've got much larger territories than the females, a lot of things to do and check up on, and it just really doesn't add up that he's still here. So I'm hoping that in the next 45 minutes he's going to get up and take us to wherever he has this kill stashed. And who knows, maybe it's something big. Maybe he'll be in the area for another 24 hours. Only time will tell. I could, of course, be completely wrong. But I'm confident that I'm right. But not too much going on here. It's an incredibly peaceful evening. I'm hoping Taylor's guinea fowl provide her with some excitement. Always wonderful following up on alarm calls. Well, you wouldn't believe it. Taylor has cracked the code and found the predator. Off you go. That Tundi leads Steve back to that cute little cub. But if she's on the eastern boundary, I'm not sure exactly where he is, that would indicate that she's possibly headed away from the cub looking for a meal. Anyway, time will tell. Time will also tell whether this guy has got a kill somewhere nearby. And I was just telling Dave we might need to stick around after the drive if he hasn't got up by then. Stick around and wait and see what in fact is going on here, so that we know what the deal is in the morning. Okay, well, it sounds like Steve's got a much better view of Tundi as opposed to our fairly average view of Hukumuri. Off you go. Well, I'm glad that Tundi's up and on the move, because Hukumuri is still fast asleep. So yeah, the waiting game continues, and it seems like Dave and myself might have to rack up some overtime, as it would be foolish to leave him be when I feel very strongly that he does have a kill nearby. Even if the kill isn't far from here, it could be very difficult to find if we don't know where it is, so we need to bank it while we can, while the going is good. Hello, young Tula-Ann, just 5 years old. You would like to know if this male leopard, Hukumuri, is a father yet. If he has any little baby leopards running around somewhere. It's hard to be certain, but there is a good chance that he could have a few kids already. It seems like he's only just becoming big and strong enough to be a daddy, so he may not have found a wife yet. So time will tell. Also because he's come from an area where we actually don't know. We don't know what he's been up to. We're not too sure how old he is. But I'm sure fairly soon he is going to have some cubs of his own. There's a female leopard that's been spending a lot of time in an area of Djuma where he also spends a lot of time. Her name is the Ingrid Dam female, and she's a young female who could well give birth to her first litter of cubs, being born to this father. But only time will tell. Hopefully it won't take too long for us to work that out. Very peaceful, still evening. It's nice and cool now. It's incredible how much the weather has cooled off in the last kind of 2 weeks. When I left here mid-February, it was still quite hot and sticky, whereas just 2 weeks down the line, I've noticed a considerable change in temperature, both during the day and, of course, also at night. I much prefer the cooler times of the year here in the Sabi Sands, so looking forward to it to continue cooling off for the next few weeks that I'm here. I also like the scenery in winter. I'm not sure why. I prefer the kind of dry brown scenery to the lush green scenery. Also makes tracking animals far easier, and it makes bushwalk far more enjoyable. At the moment, we were lucky, really, really lucky, up until recently to have not got much rain. It's made tracking and bushwalks quite easy, but in the last few weeks it really has thickened up quite a lot, and it makes not only finding the animals, tracking the animals, doing bushwalks, but even off-roading after animals. You can't really see where you're going, so it's easier to fly into a hole or hit a stump. Tristan's going to have to be extra careful when he gets back from leave now that it's thickened up. We don't want him falling out of a car again. Taylor will also be quite happy that it's no longer the rainy season. She's not going to fall in any puddles anytime soon. They've been the latest two victims of live bloopers. But I need to be careful. and not be nasty and not harp on it too much, otherwise I will then be the next. Very good. Steve's got back in touch with Tundi. Why don't you go see what she's up to? Well, good luck, Steve, in keeping up with Tundi. It's going to be very useful for our morning search, knowing exactly where she's moving this evening, because then we can have a good idea of where to kind of backtrack and see if she doesn't come back on the same trail to collect the young cublets. Not much has changed here, and I'm hoping, come on boy, oh, this is the first yawn, even though it was half a yawn. It was really good. Good start, step in the right direction. That little yawn, they like to yawn before they get up. Nina, you would like to know how far can a leopard see at night? Well, let's just start off by saying a pitch black night with no assistance from the moon, because of course it will vary greatly throughout the month depending on how big and bright the moon is. But on a pitch black night, I would say, you know, I've had a situation with Malaika, a female cheetah, up in Kenya, and it was pitch black. It was early in the morning. We were using infrared equipment, and she got up and looked very intently off in one direction, and we then also had a look, and we worked out that it was some zebra that were walking about 100 meters away from her. Whether she could tell what they were, I'm not too certain, but she definitely could see them. And that's kind of the best example I have of how far a predator can see at night. I haven't spent enough time after dark with them to be able to kind of definitively know how far they can see. And also, like I say, the tricky thing is we don't know how clearly they're seeing the subject. You know, maybe they just know it's something and then they go closer to further investigate. So it's going to be very tricky to work out. But I would say, I mean, 100 meters, I'd be confident that they can see that far. Of course, if there's no obstructions in the way, that goes without saying. Yeah, it'll be interesting to hear what the others think, what Taylor and Steve think. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to hazard an accurate, definitive answer to that question. Very good. Steve's back with Tundi. She's still on the move. Well, it's been a much easier job for me than it has for Steve, and you'll be glad to know and see for yourselves that finally the man is showing some signs of life. And hopefully it won't take long for him to get up, possibly go for a drink, and then take us to wherever he has his kill stashed. Very good. It looks like he is heading straight towards the water. So shall we. Woohoo! Well, just in the nick of time, just a few minutes before the end of the safari, and he decided to thankfully get up for us. Hold on there, Dave. It's quite steep. This was the hill that embarrassed me earlier. Oh. Ashlyn, you'd like to know, how do male leopards select a territory that they would like to claim? And I don't have a clue. I guess it's kind of default, really. They'll have a few options available to them, but I guess they kind of just go wherever the wind blows them. You know, there's so many factors involved, but I guess they'll keep pushing towards wherever the weakest link is. Happy to hear that the Zoomy controlling the Djuma dam cam has finally got a good view of the leopard. It's been hiding behind a bush the whole afternoon. So that's great news. Now, what are your plans, Hukumuri? Please don't torture us and make us stay here too late. I don't know what dinner is, but I'm quite hungry. But at least we've got him out in the open, thinking about doing something. can see he's taking lots of short, sharp bits, which emphasizes how full his belly is. And, I mean, it's difficult to be certain, but I'm convinced he's more full than when we left him last night. Okay, good stuff, boy. Seems like he's going to come down for a drink. No. He's stopped. You can see the lights of the lodge in the background. How cool is that? Maybe he doesn't want a drink. Which is fine. I'd prefer him not to have a drink and take us to wherever he's hidden his food. I've been very, very bold in continuing to say that. There's no guarantees he actually does have a meal anywhere. But I'm confident he does. I'm not sure if he was hissing at those blacksmith lapwings there. It seemed like he was opening his mouth at quite a strange angle. Oh, he's just changed direction again. It looks like he is in fact going to go for a quick drink. I'd be interested to see if he's happy to drink from this waterhole, or if he would be, or if he would prefer to go to a smaller waterhole where we actually pump water into, because that might be a little bit more tasty for him. And I think because there's so much on the cards here, we might extend for a little bit, just to see what he gets up to. And sadly, we're on the wrong side of the dam to get a good view of him drinking, but let's see if we can't make a plan. He may spend quite a while quenching his thirst. Oh, it's looking promising. There we go. We'll have a much better idea of what he's getting up to now. Ivy, you've just commented that Hukumuri is definitely a solid cat, and he definitely is. He's in his prime. He's a chunky, big male leopard. And, I mean, I think it's, personally I find it quite hard to be able to say one leopard's much bigger than another, unless, I was to see them side by side. So I wouldn't be able to hazard a guess as to who's bigger between him and Tingana. But he definitely is impressive. No two ways about that. So what I think we'll do, guys, is just give it about 5 or 10 minutes to see what he gets up to after taking a drink. If he doesn't do anything and just flop down, we'll say goodbye to you. And Dave and I will just sit here for a while and wait and see what he gets up to. But yeah, that's the kind of rough plan for now. I'm hoping, though, that he's going to move directly from the pub to the grill and help himself to some steaks. Rosette, you would like to know which lodge is behind him, and it's a wonderful lodge called Vuyatela. There's 2 lodges here on Djuma. The one we're looking at is called Vuyatela. It sleeps 10 people. That's kind of the main living area that we can see that's lit up there. And there's 5 rooms, and then there's also another lodge adjacent to this camp within the same kind of environs, which is called Galago. So there's 2 different camps, both that sleep 10 people. And you have to hire out the camp as an entirety. You can't just come here in 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. So that's a little bit about the 2 camps that have very kindly allowed us to squeeze in to the very popular Sawi Sands and let us do our business here alongside them. What a great way to go on safari. Imagine coming with 9 of your friends, jumping all onto one vehicle and heading out on safari. What a treat. I've actually got a friend of mine who's come out here with his family and friends, and they take out both camps. And they kind of do, joint dinners, one night at one camp, one night at another. But 20 people out on safari having a good old time together. So whatever he was eating was clearly very salty, because he's thoroughly enjoying this thirst-quenching exercise. It looks like he may be coming to a close soon. Spar, it's the greatest pleasure to stick around with this beautiful big cat, and of course you guys alongside us for a few extra minutes. No problem at all. This is what it's all about. You got to kind of make the most of the opportunities when they present themselves to us, and this is a good example of just that. I would kick myself if we had to come out in the morning and start searching wildly for where he's hidden the kill. I just hope, in fact, I'm right about my theory. Don't lie down. Please don't lie down. I've got a feeling he's going to plonk himself down soon. What are your plans, Hukumuri? What are you sniffing in the grass? Well, Alan, you've just come out with a great description of Hukumuri. You've likened him to Mike Tyson. And I guess you're not too far off there. I think he's currently fighting his way up to... What is he doing there? Fighting his way into a better position. Not that we've seen him physically fighting with any other leopards yet. The only interaction we've seen with him and another leopard was a standoff with a male to the north of us called Djuma. It looks like he's rolling in some poop. Leopards like to roll in herbivores' poop. They also lick it, and I'm guessing they're licking it for the minerals. And they are rolling in it, I guess, because they like the smell of it. I don't think it's to necessarily try and mask their scent. I've mainly seen them doing it with buffalo poop. But there's not much buffalo poop around due to the fact that there's not many buffalo around. So I wonder what it is. Maybe some fresh ellie dung, I wonder. Well, if he gets up, we'll go and have a quick squiz and try and work out what it is, get to the bottom of it. I'm told Tundi was also doing the very same thing. I guess it's as close as they get to catnip. Gives them some kind of stimulation. Hopefully it stimulates them enough to not fall asleep there. To get up and continue with his mission, whatever that may be. What are you planning, buddy? What are you plotting and planning here? I really love this infrared equipment that we're using. It's an absolute game changer. It doesn't shock me, but it's just so refreshing every time I look out to where the camera is pointing and just see that it's pitch black. Yet this fancy technology is allowing us great insight into the lives of these animals with very, very little impact on what they're getting up to. Now, there's some geese that I can hear getting a little bit worked up behind us here, so I'm just going to shine my flashlight and see if there's not another predator about. No, they weren't going too ballistic, but they were just kind of having a chat. So I thought maybe there was something that was bothering them. No joy. Okay. No. Let's try and get a little bit closer and try and see if we can work out what it is. Once we've done that, we can then try and, well, decide what to do regarding this extended drive. Matt, no, there's no more moonlight. Basically, after full moon, the sun rises 45 minutes late. The moon, rather, rises 45 minutes later every evening. So yesterday evening it roused 45 minutes after sunset. Tonight it'll be an hour and a half after sunset. So it will pop up and it will be big and almost full, but it'll only be up later into the night, and it'll be high up and very bright in the early hours of the morning when we head out. Has our repositioning helped? Not really. I can't. I don't know if you guys can see what he's doing. I certainly can't be sure though. But it must be something. I'm guessing it's some form of poop. I don't want to get too much closer to him and disturb him, but what we can do is hopefully if he decides to get up and move, I can go and have a closer look and try and establish exactly what it is. He's enjoying it, there's no two ways about that. Okay, well, everybody, I've tried, and Dave and I are going to continue to sit here with him, but we're going to say goodbye to you guys, and say a big thanks for joining in on what turned out to be a magnificent trifecta leopard safari. We've loved having you guys along for the safari and all your comments and contributions along the way. Well done to all the girls in the final control room and the boys, of which there are a few. We will see you all for the sunrise safari. It's bound to be a cracker.